Welcome into Extreme Radio, everybody, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. For new patients, you get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare. Modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Also sponsored by Jets Pizza of Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, and Goodlettsville. Let's get Jets. Welcome in, everybody. What an eventful week in 8-man football. Only 3 games out of the teams we cover, but still pretty eventful with some close games, some heartbreakers for some teams. Heartbreaker for one team, two blowouts, unfortunately. But there's more football to be played. Certainly more football to be played throughout the season. But happy Labor Day to all you guys in the studio. Any plans for Labor Day, Zach?
Watching basketball.
Yeah, but there's a good
and
amount
watching
of basketball.
football.
What's the Heat score right now? I know Jack is tracking it right now.
Football's tomorrow night.
50-48 at that.
BYU's playing Navy.
Oh.
Probably. I think ESPN. Giannis is out the rest of the game.
Oh, that's not good. Let's hope he gets back in the rest of the series. What about? Yeah. Stars got the overtime win for the series.
I stopped watching the NHL when the Predators were out.
Oh yeah, I mean I kind of cover it. Once I get down to the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals, when I follow it, but it's such an off year for sports that I'm more used to following it when it gets to like June, when it gets to May and June when when the regular season is. So that's why my calendar is so thrown off. I'm just.
It's like your body clock when June rolls around. In May and June, you're like, okay, let's start. It's like right about now. I'm like, okay, let's start seeing how the MLB playoffs are going, and they're not going.
Yeah.
I wasn't even excited for NFL football until last night.
I know. The kickoff is this Thursday, man.
Yes.
It hit me this morning because I saw something that said this is the last Sunday without football.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not just that, but you think about it as well. This Friday, I was telling the guys in studio next week, we're going to be watching Red Zone. We're going to have Red Zone up watching all the games and going in between. I'm excited for that. Yeah, that'll be good, more good fodder than we already have to talk about. Of course, yeah. That's why it's called an intro to the show. Who cares? Who you got winning the Super Bowl?
Bengals.
Look, it'd be a miracle if they make the playoffs, much less the Super Bowl. Go Tigers. But no, of course not. Of course not. Go Blue Raiders.
It's hard to argue with the Chiefs. They didn't really lose anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the gang is back.
What is it, 20 of 22 starters back?
But I would also be crucified in this town if I didn't say Titans. So I don't know the numbers.
You got to think with the Titans, they had the Chiefs on the ropes. But they're the last team to beat the Chiefs, and they had them on the ropes until they couldn't get any pressure. So Clowney might.
We've already beat Lamar, and all this is without Clowney. So
yes.
I'll trade Clowney for Casey any day.
Definitely.
Anyway, full digression on that. We're excited about NFL football.
You started it.
I did. I know. I asked what the Labor Day plans were, and then I got into other sports. But
you didn't ask me what my Labor Day plans are.
I was about to ask when you started going on your fantasy team. So, James, what are your Labor Day plans?
Oh, nothing.
See? That's why I don't ask.
For real, though.
But it's still like courtesy to ask.
I realize that. It doesn't matter whether he has anything or not. He's still going to get offended if I don't ask him and reach out to him. So. Well, offended in quotation marks. But
I'm just chilling with the kiddos.
In the words of the great James Shannon, we all digress.
The great James Shannon. Mm-hmm. I don't know that.
Let's get into the recaps. So,
anywho,
tough loss for Sacred Heart in their first game on the road, 40-0. Christian Community took it to them at home, and that's a really good. It's a good motivational boost for CCS because you have to think starting out 0-2, especially against top teams. They were looking for the win, and that's what Coach Flanders talked to us after the Freedom Cowboys game. Is that they were looking for they were wanting to have those games scheduled prior to, because he mentioned, I would rather have my guys in real-time scenarios before it actually counts for the playoffs than have them playing scrimmages or practices and such, because there's only so much a scrimmage can do, especially when your guys know what's going to happen. Your guys know what's coming. But it's for an 0-2 start to turn around, and then for the first game that counts towards the postseason, right now Christian Community is number 1 in the North. So.
Oh yeah, like I said last week, these games, if you're Christian Community going into this week, you knew your defense was there. You knew you had a good defense. You were just waiting for your offense to come around. And I said, if they can get their offense to come around, they're going to be a scary team that play later on in the year. Their defense is top-notch. They were just waiting for that little offensive spark. And then they might have found that this week.
They may have found it. And in terms of Sacred Heart, I mean, you have to think with all the difficulties in the offseason and, being a whole year off of football and trying to get the systems going and get everybody prepared for it, James. It's for Sacred Heart. I mean, yeah, they lost 40-0, but you have to think there's nothing to be truly ashamed of, because they're playing against a Christian Community team who's had 2 games prior to this. They've had the experience. They've had some wear and tear. So at least Sacred Heart, they've got some stuff to build off of.
Well, and from what I heard, obviously haven't been able to watch the game or see stats from it, and that be what it be. But I heard Sacred Heart lost a couple starters due to injury during the game and just kind of had to try to find their stride. And that's really, that's the first game of the year. That's all you can try to do. I mean, that's the same thing CCS had to do was find their stride. And, like you said, playing those games before this, they were able to do that. And so that really worked out to their advantage. But, it's tough, but it's the first game of the year. All you got to do is pack it in and buckle down and say, hey, look, we still got 2 more divisional games to go. All we got to do is handle our business. Really, all you got to do is beat one of them, and you're in. So, despite losing to CCS, and that's kind of a shame, but it's just the way it is this year. So all they got to do is handle their business against either Lighthouse or Sacred Heart, or South Haven, rather. And there you go. Man, that sounds like Joe Biden. All you got to do is handle your business, and there you go.
I don't know how I feel about that one.
It's just a joke.
I know it's just a joke, but
it's entertainment.
I know. It's entertaining in some regards, but
it's very entertaining. I'm very entertaining.
Well, so now that you mentioned that to me, thank you for reminding me that I have to start getting together the playoff bracket, even though it's very early on in the season. But Christian Community, they are the first team in MTech to clinch a playoff berth. Granted, again, like you said, how the system goes and everything. So South team, if they beat 2 teams, then they're guaranteed in. That's the way it would work. Because they're 5 teams. 5 teams, you beat 2 teams, you get into the playoffs. It's just a matter of what seeding goes about that. So, congratulations to Christian Community clinching a playoff berth. I think 2016 was the only season that they didn't make it into the playoffs.
Yes.
So that's now 17, 18, 19, 4 seasons in a row where they're getting the playoffs straight. And then I believe they got it. They got in 2015 and 14. 14 they lost to Lighthouse. Or did they get? Did they get?
Yeah,
in the playoffs
14 they lost to Lighthouse.
And then 13.
13.
Whatever the streak is.
13 they lost to Aaron Academy. 12 they won the title. 11 they lost the title to Classical. 10 they lost in the playoffs to Aaron. And that's as far back as I remember.
They've been in the playoffs. So they've only missed 1 time in the last 10.
I mean, if you look in the dictionary at the word playoffs, a picture of the Colts logo is beside of it.
Yep.
I mean, that's just how it is. That's how it goes.
Yeah, congratulations to the Colts. And it looks like right now they've got a bye week, so they get a little bit of rest after playing 3 games before they pick back up against Ezel Harding on the road in Antioch. And then as for Sacred Heart, they've got another game to turn right around. They at least have another day's rest. They got their Saturday game on the road against Lancaster.
Well, and you look at the stretch the CCS comes out of the break on. They have to go to Ezel, host Lancaster, go to South Haven, and then go to Classical.
Yep. And of course, they have a break after that.
Then it's a break after that, and then you got Lighthouse and FCA. But, I mean, that 4-game stretch right there, you're going to need this bye week.
Yep.
And congrats to Will Adams winning Player of the Week last week.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations to him. Thank
you all for voting.
Oh, yeah. He'll be getting his The amount of people we had voting on that was pretty incredible. But
some of y'all, hey, listen, we're gonna have an award at some point for most valuable thumbs. I swear, some of y'all stayed up and just refreshed.
Yeah,
But hey, you know what? That's your own choice.
Yeah, Will Adams will be getting his meal cards later this week, and of course for Sacred Heart they got their game against Lancaster Christian this Saturday, so they got a full. They have no bye weeks. They're going a full 4, 5, 6, 8 games in a row.
Who's that?
Sacred Heart.
Yeah,
they got 8 games in a row, so they're hitting the ground running.
They got to grind, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's yeah.
It's going to be a long stretch. All right, let's get to the game that we were not at, but boy, would it have been a fantastic game.
I got to watch the game footage, and it was.
Oh yeah, we watched the last 5 minutes here in studio before the show started, and it was pretty incredible to see the clutch performance. But Ezel Harding on their first game of the year, where they got special permission to play that game, as it was outside of Metro Davidson County against Tennessee Heat.
Which they didn't have to get permission from Metro. They had to get permission from their headmaster.
Yeah,
was my understanding.
Yeah,
I might be wrong. Probably am.
They got permission from somebody.
They got permission. Yeah.
The permission from somebody on that, but they were able to play their first game on the road, and it was certainly worth it for them to get the reps in and be prepared. But the Tennessee Heat, James, you're so far correct, 100% on your Tennessee Heat predictions.
I just listen. And a lot of people from Ezel Harding just not loving my predictions last week. I was going to wait till later on in the predictions to talk about this. Let me just say this. Look, getting mad at me for the predictions I make is like getting mad at the way that a WWE match settles out. It's entertainment. Just be entertained. It doesn't mean if I see you on the street. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if I see you on the street, I'm not going to go, "Hey, you're going to lose Friday."
Right.
I'm gonna dap you up and we'll say, "Hey, how you doing? You feeling well? You know, I'm not gonna. So and here's the thing that kills me. If you like me, you're thinking about me. If you don't like me, you're thinking about me. Either way, I'm on your mind. So I might as well start paying rent if I'm gonna live inside your head. So just seriously, just look at it as entertainment. Be entertained and stop getting so bent out of shape about it. Seriously.
Oh,
but
man.
and I'm not going to call names, but you know who you are. Oh. So just putting that out there.
Oh, man.
For real.
I would.
But
like
anyways,
to,
listen.
Look down. Jack just
What is
handed him
that-
a
what is
pair
that
of
for?
shades in the studio because they're the cool guy shades.
No, listen. I like I said, I got to watch the game from Friday. I love the move to put Jamari Liddell at quarterback. I love that move for Ezel Harding.
Oh, by the way, 43-40, the final score on that, and that was a final drive with the Tennessee Heat. Last second to get that victory.
I mean, I've already talked about the guys. I've already talked about oh, what's up, Eli? I'm sorry. I just saw our live chat. What's up, Eli? We'll talk about you in a second. Just wait your turn. Chill, bro. Seriously. Anyways, no, I got to a chance to watch the game. I've already talked about who I like from the Heat. I've already talked about Goolsby, who got the game winner with 4 seconds left. I've already talked about Corley, who is the best quarterback the Tennessee Heat have ever had in their history, and I've been around the Heat for 10 years. Before that, they were not known for having a quarterback. That's the best quarterback they've had in the last 10 years. I've already talked about the guys I like for the Heat. I love Liddell at quarterback. He's an athletic guy who can make plays. I love their running backs. They've got Braxton Coleman. They've got scatback Noah Preston. I love those guys. They are great players. They have a good team. That's why I think they'll get in the playoffs. But, we'll see what happens. But I just a great game. I love the fact that I was getting updates. I'm not gonna lie. I started sweating a little bit first quarter. I was like, man, this is gonna be a blowout. But it's only first half, and then the Heat, like they had the first 2 weeks, they got behind, found a way to come back. They only lost one starting senior last year. They have a solid core that knows, look, this is it. After this, we probably won't play organized football again. We need to make a run here. And if they were in the league, I'd call it they're winning the state title. But they're not. So they're going to have to go to a national tournament and try to win a national title.
That's how coming back from those deficits is how you separate a young team from a veteran team.
Exactly.
A young team hasn't been in the situation before, go down 14, 20 points, and they're like, oh, well, the game's out of reach. Veteran team, it's like, oh, well, take this drive. Take drives one at a time. Lost a drive. A drive.
Just win a drive.
Just
one
win
at a
the
time.
Drives. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you look up the score, and it's, 21-20, 22-20 or something like that, and then there you go.
And
It's a
even
game.
later in the game, 3:45 left, and it was the Ezel picked off a pass, a Corley pass, took it back for a touchdown. They were up 40-29. You're up by 2 scores with 3-4 minutes left. The game should be done. And then they just found a way to come back and shut down the Ezel offense. And Ezel offense made a couple mistakes, and then were able to make it happen. And that's like you said, that's the sign of an experienced team is, all right, we got punched in the mouth. We're going to get back up. We're going to punch them back in the mouth. That's how you know that until I see something differently, I'm sold on the Heat. Just 100%.
Just an incredible drive in the last minute of the game. We were watching, like I mentioned, we watched that in studio. Those last 5 minutes of just Ezel Harding, they put themselves in situations where they had a chance to win. They had a perfect chance to do that. It was just unfortunately the mistakes that were being made that led up to that. But it was just like Coach Collins said about Friday's game, which we'll get to that in a second. But it was I think this is applicable here, where Coach Collins mentioned fixable mistakes. I'm sure Coach McGee would agree. These are just easy, fixable mistakes that they can work on and improve for the rest of the season.
It's nothing where you look at the Ezel roster and you say, oh, well, this is going to be a weak point for them all year. It's a little mistake. All you got to do is fix it. And you had let me get this right. You had a 26-8 lead. When you're not making mistakes, they're a dominant team.
Yep.
They can be a dominant team. And then they start making just little mistakes here or there, and the Heat were able to capitalize on it.
And to be clear, it's not like Ezel lost the game.
No.
The Heat won that game.
The Heat won the game,
The Heat won that game. It's not one of those where it's like, oh, well, Ezel's up 20, it's over. No. Heat have a big, talented roster, and then you just got to keep going, and the Heat just didn't give up.
Well, and they got the ball with a minute left and started making their drive and found a way to win. I mean, that's the story of the game. The Heat won. They're 3-0 for the first time in program history. Never been 3, and that's beating 2 8-man teams, including the team that was in the state title, which I know the roster's different. It's beating the defending state champions and an 11-man team, TWA. That's a pretty good start to your season.
Got to go start 3 now to go 9-0.
Exactly. Facts.
It's just amazing. Just one of the amazing comebacks you see in 8-man football, and we'll see how it continues on throughout the season. Ezel Harding, of course, they do have a bye week later on, but they got a 5. This is going into the second game of their 5-week stretch as they go on the road to Franklin Classical, who is now actually playing at Freedom Intermediate. They got that worked out. That's where their home field was. They were having some issues with possibly running the field, but they're back at Freedom Intermediate, which is pretty incredible. But for Ezel Harding, they travel to Franklin Classical. That'll be the first game of the season. We'll get into the predictions on that. As for the Tennessee Heat in their continued attempt to make James proud, they play an 11-man game. They could play an 11-man game.
Like that.
They play an 11-man game against the Webb School next Friday.
That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. I want to bring up Webb, but anyways.
That'll be talked about later in the show. All right, let's go ahead and get to the game that we were at on Friday night, the first game at home that we covered for the Freedom Cowboys in Huntsville, Alabama. The Ezekiel Academy Knights came in against the Freedom Cowboys, and let me start off with it was a lively crowd. The amount of people the amount of the attendance was incredible. From both sides, I believe there was a decent amount of Ezekiel Academy fans there, and 53-0 the final score on that game. And Zachary, it was like I mentioned earlier when we talked with Coach Collins. Coach Collins told us after the game this is the first game he's had almost basically in his entire career where they are easily fixable mistakes, and that they could fix everything that went wrong in that game.
Oh yeah, if you're the Cowboys after that game, you played a great team. Ezekiel's a great team, maybe the best team we've seen all year. But if you're Freedom, there was just times, for instance, Butler running a free again, gets the ball tapped out behind, just easy stuff, just tuck it in next time.
Yeah,
and then going towards the end of the first half drive, scores 28-0, and then force a pass is intercepted. That's just stuff that you can tell it's a young team. And they're going to grow up, and they're going to fix these mistakes. And by the end of the year, Freedom's not going to be looking at, oh, well, it's 28-0. They're going to be like, oh, well, we're in this game. They'll be in every game from here on out.
Well, and I mean that you look at their schedule. There's several winnable games on this schedule. several. I see him over 500, but in terms of Ezekiel, listen, and I'm gonna put this in y'all's ear. I want to see. I'm being selfish here. I want to see Ezekiel, and I want to see the Tennessee Heat in a game for the national title.
Oh, yeah.
That game will be incredible,
Cool.
and that's because I think Ezekiel. Hot take time here. I think Ezekiel wins their conference title. Their conference includes Evangel and Lighthouse Homeschool. I think they beat both of them, and I think they win their conference title.
You're making a hot take there.
Hot
sure.
take, fine.
But
I'm full of.
so Ezekiel Academy, not sure what game they play next since they're none of the teams we cover, but you'll look it up.
I got you. I literally have them pulled up.
What's their next game?
Play.
Sorry, Lighthouse Homeschool. It's their first in conference game. Now I remember because I talked about that. With their coach after the game.
Yeah, Lighthouse Homeschool.
And that's
no, they play. They play East Central Homeschool.
East. I knew it was. I knew it was one of the home.
They play
homeschool
East Central Homeschool at home.
That's at home. That's their first in conference game.
The Lighthouse game is their last game of the regular season.
Then that's in conference. Their first home game of the season, and the first one that counts towards going to pursue their state championship. It's pretty incredible. But as for the Freedom Cowboys, they were originally going to play the Bowling Green Warriors, but that game unfortunately got canceled, as we have been told. So the story behind that, they were the Bowling Green Warriors. They still played at Western Kentucky's Intramural Sportsplex. Originally, the game preseason, it was set to be in Alabama on September 11th. Governor Bezier of Kentucky, they have the ordinance still in place of if anybody travels from Kentucky to certain hotspot states where I think it's a 10% or more active case rate, 10% of the population or more is active in COVID-19 cases, then the team coming back would have to quarantine for 14 days. And with that, with the Bowling Green Warriors, they wouldn't be able to play Classical nor South Haven, so they'd have to drop those games.
And they wouldn't be able to have go to class and.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to go to
that
class
kind of
or do any of that. So they swapped it and asked Freedom to travel up to them, even though they did last year, but just because of the pandemic, they had to do that. So they originally set it for that. Then Western Kentucky came in, and they said because of Alabama still being a hotspot and the risks involved, they did not feel comfortable having a team from Alabama playing a game on their property, just because they didn't want. I think because of liability issues and things like that, which is understandable for sure. They were originally trying to. We heard that they were trying to get the game to be hosted at Riverside Christian after Riverside's game hosting Lighthouse this Friday. So I believe it was going to be a 6 p.m. kickoff.
Lighthouse Riverside would have been 6, so they would have kicked their game off at least at 9.
Yeah, so it would have been
if
late.
The game was 2.5 hours and then a 30-minute warm-up period.
It would have gone into the night unless they had moved back the Riverside Lighthouse game further, which I think just the logistics and everything that got involved, they just ultimately decided to cancel the game. Which
I hate to see that.
Yeah,
you hate it. I was
it.
looking forward to seeing them play each other.
Yeah, that would have been.
Now
fantastic.
I got to adjust my season predictions.
Well, yeah, it was unfortunate, but I'm sure that they'll be picking up a game either later in the season or try to pick up a game going into next year, because that's two programs. It also depends on if Bowling Green becomes the Legacy Christian Academy Eagles, if they officially join the school for the football program. But at least for Freedom, they've got. I believe a 3 bye-week stretch. They may have picked up some games. I'd have to look at their schedule.
3 weeks. 3 weeks of bye.
So 3 weeks of bye weeks. Maybe they'll pick up a game or two with some games, because it looks like right now Christian Community is on a bye week this week. The September 18th, none of the other teams we cover active. But if Freedom wanted to, they could pick up a game against Lighthouse on September 25th, because they're on a bye week that week. So
I don't know why Lighthouse has the bye, but. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they. I know that Lighthouse. I think their only game that's out of conference is against the Tennessee Heat on October 16th. And the Bowling Green Warriors on Halloween. But, anyways, so as we mentioned, 53-0 Ezekiel Academy goes on to their first in conference game at home, and Freedom Cowboys have a 3-week bye-week stretch. All right, ladies and gentlemen, time to get into our interview for the day. We mentioned it already with the game between Christian Community and Sacred Heart, and going into their second game this season, who better to talk to than the coach himself, the newly appointed head coach for Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights, Mr. Jeremy Blankenship. Coach, how are things down there in Jackson? Doing all right, Coach. So we usually about July August when we have preseason shows usually when we have about July preseason shows we usually uh, we talk to the coaches beforehand, get an interview with them, get to know them, and of course we didn't have that this year because we started out with August 1st with everything going on. So, just for people who don't know that much about you, take us through your coaching experience. Just tell us a little bit about yourself with your coaching experience, your time with Sacred Heart, and take us through the path that led to you becoming the head coach. Coach. So you mentioned you were able to step up and do that, and in 2018, of course, Sacred Heart came back. They were originally of course they know about the history where it's been an on year off year on year off year with the Sacred Heart program. Tell us about your thoughts on 2018. You guys in the season, you had a chance to go to the bowl game, just ended up having that loss against Bowling Green Christian to go there. So tell us about tell us about your thoughts with Sacred Heart to see them, in 2019 take a break because they couldn't have enough players come out, and then going into 2020 being able to field the team again and give players an opportunity.
that
Yeah, the numbers, of course, are low in A-man football, but at least you have enough to field the team. That's the important thing. So we mentioned in our recap of the games, but on paper, a 40-0 loss, it doesn't look good. But with you guys, we mentioned it was your first game going into the season. Um, believe we're having some technical issues here, trying to get them back up here. All right, there we go, Coach. All right, so as we mentioned, on paper, a 40-0 loss it doesn't look good. But when you look at the stat lines, you look at the box scores, and you actually look at the film, it shows a lot more in depth. From what you've reviewed over the weekend and from what you saw in the game on the sideline, take us inside what your thoughts were on that first game on the road for you guys. What you guys can improve on, what you think can be taken going into the season.
we could.
Sorry, working on a couple issues on our end.
Again, just having some technical issues. We apologize to the viewers for whatever reason. Our phone module has given us some issues here. Coach. So we mentioned, of course, you did. Of course, before the season, you guys have practices. You start to get to know the guys. You start seeing team leaders and such. From practice up to this point, especially with you having your first real-time game scenario, take us through. What are some of the players that really stand out to you as either leaders or guys you're really excited to see grow throughout the season? What kind of things are you or what kind of players are you guys looking at? All right, Coach, and of course, as I mentioned, you guys have a full looks like a full 8-9 game stretch going throughout. No bye weeks in that, so you got a lot of time to a lot of real time game scenarios for you guys to focus on. So tell us about you guys are going against Lancaster Christian Academy. The second seed in the South last year, and with Coach Jason Bragg and all the guys they've got returning from last season, they got a pretty strong team, at least from what we're looking at. Tell us about the guys with what your thoughts are going ahead after your game on Friday. What's kind of the message you're giving to your guys going into Smyrna on Saturday? Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show, taking time out of your Sunday, and best of luck to you guys on Saturday night against Lancaster. Yep, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, we apologize for those who couldn't hear it on air. We're having a lot of technical issues for whatever reason. It's receiving into our mixer here, but it's not outputting to our recording software. We'll hopefully get those kinks worked out off the show, and
we could hear them through our headset on our end.
Yep.
So we just got to get that hammered out. But
yeah,
like I said, sorry, we apologize about that. We'll hopefully get it squared away.
Yeah, but at least one of the things we heard from Coach Blankenship, he's really excited about his guys, looking at his quarterback and different things. It's that Sacred Heart is looking like it's going to be a decent team going into the season.
Well, and they bring back their quarterback from 2 years ago, like he was saying. It's Keel. I believe it's Jake Keel.
Mm-hmm.
His older brother Will was quarterback back in the day, but they bring back Jake Keel from 2 years ago. They got Blake Biggs, and I'm trying to look at their roster. Don't have it up right now, but a couple other guys that have really stood out and really made some plays Friday night. Even if they weren't scoring plays, just still making things happen. So I'm excited to see him in action Saturday.
It's gonna be interesting for sure, and they're the only team playing on Saturday. But it's that time of the show again. Well, before we get into that, James, you got anything else you wanted to bring up before we get to the game predictions?
What should I be bringing up?
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying,
That's why I asked.
Well, I can't think of anything.
You got anything, Zach?
Oh, no, not off the top of my head.
All right, let's go. Well, let's go into it. Follow along on your helmet schedules from top to bottom, everybody. It's time for Week 4 predictions. So, from top to bottom, it looks like Christian Community, they've got a bye week. They got to rest after 3 games straight. And as James and Zachary are having their traditional rock, paper, scissors for who's going to go first this week. And, of course, Zachary defers. So, looks like James will go first in his prediction. So, we'll start out with the first game of the season for both of these teams. Lighthouse Christian School travels on the road to Fayetteville against the Riverside Christian Academy Knights, and everyone knows the story about Riverside Christian the last few seasons. Of course, Coach Creasy recovering from leukemia, getting in full relapse, and last year managed to pull off the upset on paper, at least, against the number 2 seeded South Haven Patriots, and being the number 3 seed in the South, going up to Ezel Harding and taking the loss, unfortunately. But it's always tough to win against the Ezel Eagles, especially when you don't have a bye week and going into the postseason. But for Riverside, they've lost a lot of guys. They've lost a lot of seniors. It's going to be interesting to see what Coach Creasy is working on. But for Lighthouse Christian, they lost their starting quarterback in Aiden Hooper, who transferred out to Middle Tennessee Christian School, and they've
tearing it up.
Yeah, he's tearing it up over there. He was, I think, he was second place on that USA Today poll for Player of the Week,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that in TWA. But for Lighthouse, it's going to be interesting to see who their starting quarterback is, who their guys are. I know that Christian Sharp is out for the year with ankle surgery.
Was it ankle or shoulder?
I think it was the ankle. It was either ankle or shoulder. He had surgery and he's out for the season, so that's another weapon for Lighthouse to lose. But for Riverside Lighthouse, both of these guys, several bye weeks, a delayed start. James, who you got?
I'm looking at a Lighthouse roster. So for Riverside, I mean, yeah, you lost Pup, you lost John Knotts, you lost David Black, the quarterback. Michael Black is not coming back to play this year. He's going to focus on basketball. You still got your quarterback, Jake Rubelski. You still got the best player in the MTAC, Crutch Rizel.
Mm-hmm.
You still got
So it was Josh Austin last year, but now for you it's Crutch Rizel.
Yeah.
All
I said that last year. I said Rizel's going to be the best
that's
player.
That's
I haven't seen anything to prove me wrong. I'm just saying. But anyways, no, I mean, they've still got just a ton of guys coming back, and I haven't seen anything that makes me go, I don't know about that. But, like you said with Lighthouse, looking at Lighthouse's roster now, like you said, Sharp is out, but you still have guys like Jamari Teague coming back, their running back. You've still got Christian McLean, Dedrick's little brother, who Dedrick went on to sign with Carson Newman. You still got Kobe Sweat coming back for his senior year. So, I mean, they've still got some pieces around that can make some stuff happen. So, I'm excited to see who their quarterback is. On this roster that I'm looking at here on Max Preps, it says Sam King is their quarterback, a sophomore. So, they're going to start another young quarterback is what it looks like. They've also got a couple other guys on here, Niles Roby. So, I mean, they've got a couple guys from a few years back, so it's kind of confusing. But we'll see what their roster brings. I mean, every year it's interesting to see how Lighthouse does. And, again, all they got to do is handle their business and beat Sacred Heart or beat CCS or beat South Haven, and they're in the playoffs. And it's been a minute since Lighthouse has been in the playoffs. So the sooner that happens, the better I think it will be for them. And for Riverside, like I said, yeah, you lost some guys, but they still have a ton of weapons. You can't overlook Riverside ever, and it's at Riverside. That place is tough to play.
So the W in James' eyes goes to Riverside. What say you, Zach?
I didn't say that.
You went on that whole rant and making it seem like it's tough. All right, who you got?
Oh, I got Riverside. I never officially said I got Riverside.
Yeah, you never officially. That's why I said so. All right, who you say, Zach?
So with it being the first game of the season, of course, both teams bring back a lot of weapons, but the key thing is bringing back a quarterback. First game for Lighthouse's quarterback, trying to get into rhythm, trying to get into rhythm of the receivers, get game shape, figure out what's going to go on during the games. On the road, it's always tough to have your first high school start, especially on the road. So I'm going with Riverside.
Well, and you talk about quarterbacks too. Rubelski was the quarterback 2 years ago. Black was supposed to be the starting quarterback, broke his collarbone. Rubelski stepped in as a freshman, I believe, maybe sophomore. No, sophomore. Stepped in as a sophomore and took him on a run. And that's the year that they made MTAC Bowl and played Bowling Green. So he took him on a run. Now he's back as a senior. I mean, it'd be tough to beat him.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes down. So both of you guys picking Riverside for this week. All right, going down to the next game, Ezel Harding, after a tough loss to the Tennessee Heat, they travel again to go against Franklin Classical School at Freedom Intermediate, Fred Lane Field. First game of Isaiah Austin's head coaching career, the youngest head coach in MTAC history. And, of course, they did play we saw the film on it. They did play a scrimmage against Franklin Christian and got to see a little bit of kind of the schemes and things they're working on. And I think Isaiah's got some guys to work with. He's got some good talent to go with. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of push they're going to make for the postseason. And because of Ezel Harding being in the South, this is the first game of playoff implications impacting the MTAC South Division. So, with Ezel Harding, the new coach versus the defending champion coach. It's gonna be a pretty interesting game, but James, you got to make a pick.
Before I make a pick, I would be remiss if I didn't circle back and mention Mr. Raymond Hunt for Riverside Christian. He's back as well as a junior, and Rubelski is a junior. So I just had to circle back and throw that in. Now to the game at hand. First off, I said I would do it. A big shout out to Mr. Eli Cornett coming back. Had a great freshman's campaign with Classical. Transferred to Centennial High School, did well at Centennial High School, but decided his senior year he wants to come back home and play with the boys and so I'm excited to see him in action. He's a great player, great addition for Classical. They've still got some guys from last year. They've still got Hubbard. You still got Lott. I'm drawing a blank on some of these other guys, and I absolutely hate that I'm doing that, but they've still got a stacked roster of guys coming back. Actually, I'm going to look up their roster because I don't want to miss some of these guys that I want to be able to give a shout-out to. So, I mentioned Hubbard. I mentioned Lott. Salstron. I'm glad I circled back. Got to mention Mr. Salstron. They lost Warchie. They lost McKinnon, obviously. So, they've got a good roster, and I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. Of course, we saw Ezel Harding Friday night. Again, Ezel Harding, a great team. They've got good players. You just got to eliminate those mistakes. In my opinion, take it for what it's worth, which isn't much. You probably couldn't buy a double cheeseburger with it, but I'm just saying.
I made it from McDonald's.
For McDonald's? Well, maybe not even
the
from
McDonald's. The dollar menu, though.
You can get 2 cheeseburgers for $2.
You might be able to get it. I said a double, though, but the 2 cheeseburgers anyways.
You could
2
take
cheeseburgers is a double.
Take the
Technically.
meat off of one and put it on top of the other, and you have a double.
Super digress. Did you know if you take a double cheeseburger, take the mustard off it and substitute it for Big Mac sauce and add lettuce, it's a Big Mac?
No, because there's no bun in the middle.
Okay, so it's minus a carb. It's minus a bun and a carb. Anyways. So I mean, I like what Classical brings to the table. I like what Ezel Harding brings to the table. I like what Ezel Harding brings to the table more because I've got Ezel Harding picked to win Friday night.
Zach?
Yeah, of course. Classical new head coach in Isaiah. I mean, it's just going in new season. It's always tough. A coach's first game is always tough to pick for or against because you don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to react in situations. But look, the big edge goes to Ezel because they've already played a game. They play against the Heat, who we've known has great talent, extraordinarily good talent. And for that reason, I'm going with the Heat. No, not the Heat. Ezel.
Okay,
Ezel.
well,
Wow.
he already gave a premonition of what pick he's going to take later on. So both guys taking Ezel Harding this week.
Let's just address. We're both taking the Heat against Webb. We're not going to pick Webb to beat the Heat. Both picking Webb.
Is you staying with the Heat over the Webb school?
Well, here's the thing with Webb.
So you're taking Classical.
I am not taking
No,
Classical.
so we're both
taking
taking
Ezel
Ezel.
Harding.
Yes.
Okay.
Webb is a very tough place to play.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fan base down there. Football's everything down there.
Yep.
Trust me, I grew up down there. It's big, huge down there.
He legit grew up in that area.
Yes.
Like for real.
One of our high school rivals, actually. But I don't know. The Heat just have so much talent, just all the way across the board, and you gotta go with Heat here.
All right, so he's going with the Heat, and James already predicted the Heat to go. Even though it's an 11-man game, making your predictions anyway, but he already predicted the Heat to go completely undefeated this season.
We need to get a mic on producer Jack.
Yeah, we do. We need to get a mic on him so he can give us comments.
Some good things.
Yeah, he got some good stuff.
For those that didn't hear, he asked Zach how many of those rivalry games they won. So.
Oh, we didn't. Okay, so we played, we played them in basketball, correct?
Yeah.
And they had Keon Johnson,
Yeah.
5-star recruit going to University of
Tennessee
Tennessee.
commit.
Yep.
So
Rock go Vols.
So we didn't. We almost beat him last year, but I graduated by then. So while we was there, like. He was so athletic. Like one time he stole the ball and it was just me and him on the other end. And I was like, oh, this is about to be bad. He jumped up and I ran. I ran towards the other end.
No, you made a business decision.
I made a business decision.
Yeah,
I mean, I sat in the bitch anyway, so.
Exactly.
They got a good gym. They got a good
do.
auditorium and stuff. I've been down there
Yes.
plenty of times.
I've never been in the web gym.
Yeah, I've gone down
I've been
there.
in a locker room.
It's an interesting gym setup. So you have to walk down to get to the court.
Yep.
So it's kind of like when you walk
have
in.
a
That's not where there's some schools like that.
It's a bowl thing. It's a track mezzanine around it.
Yeah,
around
but
it.
that's like if you've ever been to like Overton High School, it's that kind of setup.
Not there yet.
Or there's a maybe Innsworth, I think is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the other setup I'm thinking of that where it's kind of similar but not. They play Daniel One Academy. They play their basketball and volleyball games at the Gallatin Civic Center. So it's kind of like that where they have the
Pretty sure
track
Daniel
over.
One doesn't play at Gallatin. They play in Cookeville.
Sorry, not Daniel One.
Sumner.
United Christian Academy.
United
is
Christian.
who I'm
No,
thinking.
United Christian's out of.
They play their
Is there
games
two
in-
United Christians? Because
There's
there's one in
UC
Dixon.
There's one in that
There's
area.
two
in
of 'em?
Gallatin.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so they played volleyball.
Because I know there's a
basketball,
Sumner
that way.
Academy over there too.
Yep. All right, so you guys both got the Tennessee Heat taking the win. All right, so we get into the game that we are set to broadcast this Friday. We're really excited for it. The first game of the season for both of these new head coaches, and I'm going back to my alma mater, going back to Jim Warren Park for it, so that'll be pretty fun. Franklin Christian Academy hosts the South Haven Christian School Patriots. We'll be live there on Friday. It's going to be exciting to see. Of course, Coach James Sawyers in his first game at the helm of the South Haven Patriots, traveling on the road about the same distance James has to go, about an hour down here to where we are at the GracePointe Healthcare Studios. And Franklin Christian, of course, Tim Johnson, the new assistant athletic director there and head coach for the football team. So I know James has been doing some deep diving on their roster to see the kind of guys they got back. I know that we watched the scrimmage for FCA and FCS, so we saw a little bit of stuff. So, James, bring forth the evidence, and let's hear your pick.
I'm not going to say that I'm making this pick against this team because they do have some good players coming back. I'm sure they've added some, and I'm sure the coach brings a lot to the table. But if you remember correctly last week, I did say that South Haven Christian is going 4-0. And so for that reason, I'm picking South Haven over Franklin Christian.
Well, you said they were going 4-0 in division.
I said they're going 7-0 overall.
Oh, okay, 7-0 or 7-0.
Yeah, you
okay,
go 1-0 to start, go 7-0.
Exactly.
So
facts.
you said the Tennessee Heat.
That's how math works.
You said the Tennessee Heat, South Haven, and Lancaster are going undefeated?
Yep.
Okay, so you said all three of those guys are going undefeated. That
I think Lancaster, South Haven meet in the championship undefeated,
he's already getting that.
And they tie, because,
prediction.
I mean.
and they tie. Obviously,
Is there a tie? There can't be a tie in a championship
Yeah,
game.
the lights could go out.
Yeah, the lights could go out, and maybe they'll
why
decide.
can't you have co-champions? We had that in 2016.
They'll decide it by a coin toss. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that.
No, I'm
happens,
saying we had co-champions.
but- Yeah, well, yeah.
Quote unquote.
Now, granted, that was because of a different issue. That wasn't because of the lights going out at the stadium.
Again, Sacred Heart shouldn't have done what they did. I still see them as the champions, but
In
anyways.
2016. Anyways, all right, Zachary, your
I'll
pick
get
for
you up to
South
speed on it.
I forgot what game we're picking.
South
Second-
Haven FCA.
South Haven. Okay. Wow. Like James
It's
said,
tough because it's the first game
Yes.
for both of them, so
Like-
you don't know what they have.
like we've already alluded to, it's always tough to pick 4 against the first game head coach, and we have 2 of them here.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes the decision really tough. It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a really good game. Both teams have a lot of talent and everything, but South Haven's stacked this year, and I gotta go South Haven.
Both you guys picking against my alma mater. That's fine.
Listen,
I
they're not
understand.
going to play I'm coming home video.
No,
okay?
they're not.
mean-
They're not.
Yeah.
Not really.
Not
I
happening.
haven't gotten that much
I'm
cheering
gonna
anytime I go there.
go out on a limb here, okay? And I'm calling out
Let's go.
whoever. They're not even gonna say anything about 8-Man Extreme is here tonight, and we want to welcome back alum Spencer Thompson.
Yeah.
Dare y'all to do it.
I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, they've never done any of that kind of stuff whenever I showed
cool,
up the
though.
games. I mean, yeah, it'd be fine.
They got out of all the alum they've got an alum traveling around covering. I mean, come on.
I mean, if I'm calling a game on CBS and I go back to a game, maybe. But I mean, that'd be the same for Zachary if he goes back to his high school and he's calling games on CBS.
They would,
You've called 2 national championships.
They've shouted you out before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, you've called 2 national championships. You called 4 state championships. I mean,
All-American games.
All-American games, All-Star games. Thank you for reminding me of that. So, I mean, come on.
You know, it probably doesn't help that we both picked against them.
No.
Spencer didn't get picked against them?
I don't pick games.
That is true.
I don't pick games. The only time I do the friendly wager thing is what I've usually done with Isaiah Austin when it comes to the Battle of Franklin. But even then, I don't know if he'll do it this year.
You want to give you a spoiler on who's winning that one?
No.
Okay.
We'll wait until we get later in the season for that. But both you guys got South Haven winning. And then Saturday, the only game that's going on in prime time will be there. Lancaster Christian Academy hosts the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights, as we mentioned. Of course, for Sacred Heart, this is Lancaster's first game of the season. Sacred Heart, they're coming off of a tough loss against Christian Community, but they have the game experience. They have at least one game going into Smyrna at Smyrna Middle School. But for Lancaster Christian, they've got Deuce Bragg at the helm, a sophomore now who's been a starting quarterback as an 8th grader and a freshman who's been incredible in the postseason skills. And of course, as James mentioned earlier on our series of Extreme Radio for the season, they only lost, I think, 1 or 2 seniors.
They only lost 2. They lost T.J. Robbins at receiver, and they lost Nolan Adams on the line.
They lost two seniors, and they've got more juniors who have stepped up to that senior role, and a lot of the youngness that their program had last year is back up. And now, James, you already predicted that Lancaster is going undefeated.
How do you pick against Lancaster this year?
I know.
I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Unless they were playing the Heat or South Haven, and they're not playing either one of them. How do you pick against them?
That would be a great game.
I know
to see.
It's pretty easy. I think it will be.
Yeah, I wonder, do they have matching bye weeks? Does Lancaster have any match?
No.
Lancaster doesn't have any with the Heat, but with South Haven, they both are on a bye week. October. Excuse me. No, I was
about to say South Haven has stuff going on that week, anyways, that they have to have a bye for.
Yeah. No, South Haven is playing that week. They're playing against Sacred
Listen,
Heart.
we're going to get Lancaster, South Haven in the championship.
Or depending
now,
on
neither one of them are going to get to play the Heat, because if the Heat go to a national tournament, that is the same weekend as the semifinals for the conference. So
yeah, MTAC. I wonder if there are going to be any MTAC teams going to that tournament.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But all right, you got Lancaster winning. You already.
I got Lancaster.
All right, Zach.
Oh, so I've been really looking forward to seeing Lancaster play. I really
it's
can't
you just
wait
want to
to
see Deuce.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. I can't wait to see Deuce in person. Everything I've seen on film, just incredible reads. He can sling it.
He's got a little bit of a man crush.
No, I do not.
Don't start that rumor now.
No,
we're gonna start the Zach has.
Next is going to be hashtags.
LCA bias.
Yeah, hashtag LCA bias. Oh boy. Oh boy.
No. I might have him go undefeated, but I'm just kidding.
So, someone who has it says they don't.
So I don't know. Sacred Heart has some good teams, and I'm going with Lancaster.
Yeah.
You're lame. You picked every team the same as I did.
Well, last week I didn't see what happened, and you saw what happened. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I have my picks already when I come into the studio every week, and then I think you look on mine. That's what happens.
That's true.
No. No.
That's true.
First couple weeks, I always go with the home team.
Gotcha.
Or unless I've seen someone in person, and if I'm fell in love with them or something. Like for instance with Tennessee Heat, or CCS. I like CCS. I might not pick against CCS again.
Don't.
Until they play.
You may or may not.
Don't. You're gonna be wrong 5 more times, but. Or no, I'm sorry, 4 more times, anyways.
But yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Good team.
Calm down. It's entertainment.
It's just how it works. Like, you know.
Break down the fourth wall.
Once we get to about week 4, week 5, maybe week 6, I think I might start straying away a little.
All right.
Okay, go based
Which
off.
doesn't matter between us. It just matters that I get the belt back, and I am 5-1 on the
So,
season so far. Just gonna throw that out there.
I said I was gonna go undefeated, and I lost week 2. So
Fair enough.
I'm not even undefeated. I'm not trying to go undefeated. I'm just trying to get as close as I can and to get that belt.
I just want to go above 500, and I am right now. I'm doing pretty
There you
well.
go.
4-2.
Hey,
4-2.
man, going over 500 in your first season, that would be pretty incredible, especially with not seeing the majority of teams at least as full in depth as James and I have.
Be
That'd
incredible throwing that belt on
Da,
my
da,
shoulder.
da, da. You know what I really love about this week, though, in week 4? After this week, we'll have seen every team except for Bowling Green once.
And Providence.
Bowling Green and, so Providence. So after week 5, it'll be every team that we've seen at least once.
There's
after
one week
September
that I
18th.
think everybody. Well, no, not next week. It would have been next week that everyone's playing. Well, no, because CCS isn't
No,
playing.
it's
I don't think-
October 23rd and October 30th. That week, every team of the ones we cover will be active.
Did they pick up? Yep. Last 2 weeks of the season, everyone's active.
Yep, everyone's active.
That's pretty cool.
Our score reporters are going to be I
Me?
say our score reporters. I say the people who are going to be giving scores to you to put on the Tennessee High School football.
Oh, my phone will be.
You are going to be working hard the last 2 weeks.
I've got
of
the
season.
Old Spice ringtone on my as my text. So it's going to be like.
It's going to be crazy.
I'm just going to have to mute it.
You'll just have to put it on silent mode and just look at those individually. Talk about stress management, man, because you'll be at home managing your
anyone can do
kids
it,
and
yeah.
having to do that.
No, they'll be watching Octonauts. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I
don't throw my kids in front of a TV.
He throws them in front of a tablet. There's a difference.
I throw them in front of 2 TVs.
Paw Patrol.
They're down with Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol's good. Paw Patrol's really good.
What's the other one? PJ Masks.
I haven't seen that one.
They're actually on a VeggieTales kick.
Oh, VeggieTales.
yes.
Yeah, that's
The
that's
old
where
one,
it's at.
and
The
I'm
old
down
one.
with it
That's
because
where
that's
it's
what
at.
I reckon. I can relate with that.
You shown them 3. You shown them 3-2-1 Penguins yet?
No,
Have
That's
you,
that's VeggieTales.
which one?
That's part of it.
no, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's made by.
They did a crossover, and that's it.
It's still
What are
part
we
of
talking about?
We're talking about your kids.
it. We're talking about your kids. Yeah.
The sad thing is, I can name off all the Paw Patrol characters.
Oh no, dude.
That's not a sad thing. It shows your dad.
Well,
Marshall, Chase,
I don't have a
Rubble,
kid,
Tracker,
And I can.
Sky. No, I'm at 6. That's it.
Hey, jeez. Oh man. Well, James, any other shout-outs before we sign off?
Shout out to coaches that send us film.
Shout out to coaches.
If you can, appreciate
yeah,
it.
if you can send us film, shout out to coaches
Understand
that make
outside circumstances.
shout outs to all the coaches and ADs who make our job easier with broadcasting.
Shout out, yeah, for sure.
all those who make it easier for
I'm
us.
excited about this weekend's games. I'm excited that there's more games this weekend.
Oh,
just
yeah.
2 or 3.
Oh yeah, and then September 18th, it'll be every team except for Freedom will be active. So September 18th. So we'll have a lot
Football's
of activity.
here.
Well, it was already here a few weeks
So
ago.
every
but
team
it's
that's not
full
in
swing.
Alabama.
Mm-hmm. Every team not in Alabama. Even Bowling Green is active. So
But there are Alabama teams that are active.
yeah.
But
But
not
just not that
8-man.
we're
But not we're
covering.
covering,
Yeah,
yeah.
not the ones that
yeah,
we're covering
for sure.
full swing. But
Exactly.
well, I think that about wraps it up. Unless you got any other shout outs, Zachary. Any last thoughts before we go into week 4?
Be on the lookout for our TikTok.
oh gosh.
This is why I give James the outlet to shout out his
I
stuff,
didn't
and
mean
then he
to
shouts out
interrupt.
last second.
I just thought about it.
Yeah, that's the problem. You need to consolidate. You need to have all of those in one
Try
go.
telling Einstein that.
What if I had a very important shout out that was like time pressing?
Do it now.
Just
Well,
do
I don't have
You're
any.
wasting time now.
it. Yeah. What if I had
It was time pressing. You just wasted time saying, what if I had a shout out that was time pressing?
But I was just like asking the question. What if I did?
Don't use what ifs. They're bad. Use let's say.
Let's
First
say.
off, thank you. Second off, no.
What
What?
if?
Okay.
Let's
use
say
one-offs
it's a
all the
wait,
time.
wait.
No, that's no. It's a question of.
There's a
shout out to
difference.
my English teacher who said that at one point. One of my classmates was
Oh, look
like,
at you with the
what if-
shout
yeah.
outs.
Let's say it's a statement.
Thank you.
What if is a question, and I was asking a question, not making a statement.
Oh,
Well, you started with let's say this is the case. What happens?
That's still a statement.
No, it's a statement and then followed up by a question. That's
Let's
the point.
say-
Guys,
No questions.
Guys, kids don't have to go back to school till Tuesday. Let's just leave it there.
We've been in school for weeks.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I'm
Well,
not.
we don't have to go to school Monday either.
Yeah, it's Labor Day. I'm gonna be ride sharing all day. That's gonna be a
So
long
if you're
work
in
day.
Nashville,
Don't ride share.
No,
Right, sure.
don't.
Or hit an
Very
Uber.
simple. Don't get an Uber or Lyft. Just don't. Just
Corona.
don't. Absolutely don't. So,
Oh man.
all right. Well,
Stay home and have a peaceful protest.
that's gonna sign it off here for Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme. Get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. And presented by Jets Pizza, Springfield, Fort Campbell, and Clarksville. We'll see you for South Haven FCA on Friday and Lancaster Sacred Heart Saturday.
See ya!